Winning cures everything. Now for your hosts, Gary and Chris.
Welcome in. Winning cures everything. Today is Thursday, April the 2nd. I'm Gary.
And I'm Chris.
And I'm Matt.
You can find us online, winningcureseverything.com. All of our picks, previews, podcasts, videos, social media platforms. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We are on Twitch as of today. This is just my personal Twitch account. It's the Gary WCE account. We will see how this works, if anybody even watches, or I don't know what it's going to look like. So we're just going to try it. But we're on Twitch, at least for today, at least for the next week or so, and then we may stop. I don't know. I'm down to try out anything. But we're on YouTube. We're on Periscope. We're on Facebook. You can get us on any of your favorite podcast apps, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, whatever it is. Whatever your podcast app of choice is, we are right there. Go and look for Winning Cures Everything. If you're listening to this already, then you know how to subscribe, and you need to do that. You need to share it out with your buddies if you appreciate it, if you enjoy it. Today on the show, let me go through this full list of professional accolades. We have Matt Huey, the orthopedic physical therapist, diplomat in mechanical diagnosis and therapy, and fellow of the AAOMPT. You can find him on Instagram. This is a long one. Matt_PT_DIP_MDT. Is that right?
That's it.
All right, we nailed it.
He was also drummer of one of the coolest high school bands I remember being around.
Yeah. And we played on the offensive line together back in the day.
There you go.
That's right.
So
a lot has changed since then. Matt's gotten a lot smaller. I did not. I went the other way on that.
Huey has been one of our best friends for obviously as long as we can remember. He lived down the street from me when I first moved to Olive Branch, Mississippi back in 86, 87, something. I don't know when it was.
It's something way.
It was a long time ago. So we met when we were, like 5?
Something like that.
Yeah, we've been best friends basically since kindergarten, first grade. So, which is about the same time that Chris and I became friends. So it worked out.
Second grade is when I moved to Olive Branch and met these two.
That makes sense. So, yeah, it's been a long time. We'll say that. Huey has moved all over creation. I moved all over DeSoto County, including a brief stint in Memphis for a little bit, and then came back. But yeah, he's been everywhere. I have visited everywhere. We're not going to talk about where you live right now. I'm not going to get into that. We ain't got to, because it'll probably change again next week. So I'm not getting into that whole business. But as it stands, you are an orthopedic physical therapist. You have a lot of knowledge as far as, injuries or how to rehab people, all this different kind of stuff. And all of that ties into sports. So There's a lot of different questions that we've got. And we're going to go over 4 main things today. But there are tons of questions just off of those. So let's go ahead and we'll start with one right now. The big thing on everybody's mind is, when is sports going to start back, right? And you've got MLB that is supposed to start, it should have started a week ago. You've got NBA, which was already mid-season, and they just stopped it. And we want to know, are we going to get the playoffs back? Are we going to get anything back? Golf is coming back. Football is supposed to start in late August. Go ahead and tell us, my thought process is, you can't immediately bring these sports back. There's a period beforehand where everybody has to get ready to come back. Why can't these teams immediately start playing whenever they're given a date?
So the thing that happens is the person's tissue has to accommodate to the speed of the game, because as you go up higher and higher levels, that speed is one big thing. Guys that play high school football, the pros will tell you, speed is the big thing. So if you take, and this is pretty common when guys will do a holdouts for training camp, or they come back from an injury and they miss training camp, and then they try to jump back to the game speed. Their tissue has not been put under a proper amount of load to handle that amount of force on it. So guys that like pop Achilles or tear their ACL. And so they weren't training enough in the off season at the same speed, not going with the same amount of frequency. And then when they jump back to try and do that, those injuries come up.
So it's not just that they're not going to be as good right when they come back. It is more so there's a really significant risk for injury at that point, right?
Yeah. So the two ACL tears and football Achilles tears are usually the two biggest things that you'll see. I think it happened during the NFL lockout. A lot of guys coming back, pretty big incident of ACL tears.
So
and it was just,
is that why conditioning is so important? Like, obviously strength training is one thing. You can still do a lot of the strength stuff, at home if you've got a workout area, et cetera. I know that you've got a home gym built. You can do this, like some of the strength stuff. Conditioning is a little different game, right?
Yeah. So, you can lift weights all day long, but if you're not used to running and competing for 40 minutes, 60 minutes at a time, you're just going to be gassed on it. Because, you tell teams early on in the season that they're not used to playing for that long. And mentally you're going through that for 60 minutes out in the football field, or even, just 60 minutes on the time, but you're usually out there for 3 hours. So they're just not used to it. So, so if you're not properly loading it and getting your body used to it, and then also getting that amount of rest, because then, when you get into season, you've got a game of football, for example, you got a game every week. So you've got 6 days to try to recover and then go right back out there and play again. And you're going to break down, and then you got another 6 days to recover. And that's not even throwing in a Monday night game, a Thursday night game.
And that's almost impossible. Like, that's impossible to recover from, right? At least that quickly.
Oh yeah. That's what they complain about. They're like, if we get a Thursday night game, that they get a longer rest if they play the next Sunday. So now they've got a longer rest. But if they have a Sunday night game and then a Thursday night game, it's like, we only got 3 days to prepare.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
Chris, were you wanting to jump in there? I saw you.
Well, yeah, he was talking about Achilles and ACLs. Those are serious, sometimes career-ending, used to be career-ending, but definitely season-ending injuries. What I always remember is whenever receivers or running backs or DBs, a position of skill that uses a lot of athleticism, like has a holdout for a long period of time, every time when they come back, it's almost a guarantee within 2-3 weeks they're pulling a hamstring. And it's soft tissue is what I've kind of always thought that was the more susceptible stuff, because there's no real amount of practicing to get you for game speed.
Oh yeah. And you got to think, these guys, they're not practicing with the team. So you're not practicing with NFL quality guys many times. I'm just going to do some sprints, and it's like, you may not be training at that high level. So yeah, you go back out there and whoop, pulled hamstring, and well, that's going to set you back a few weeks,
and then nag the rest of the season.
Yeah, and then that's the thing with the rehab on that, is that this is the thing. I haven't dealt with many professional athletes in the past. I've met some of them. I dealt with them just a handful of times. Sometimes they're prima donnas. And
imagine that.
No.
Oh, and it comes to the rehab, and they're like, yeah, I'll be here at 6 a.m. And you're right there waiting for them, and they don't show up till noon. And they're like, yeah, I just don't want to come in. It's like, all right, well, you need to do X, Y, Z. I'm not doing that.
That's it.
It's like,
it's impossible to
I'm
recover.
expert in this,
yeah.
And they're like, nah, whatever. But then you have another guy that it's like, no, I'm putting the work in. I'm respecting what you do, and I want to get better. So it kind of just falls all over the place.
The one guy that seemed to blow all of the statistics out of the water of what we knew about ACL injuries was Adrian Peterson. And he's the first guy that came back after 6 months, 4 months. I mean, it wasn't long at all. He blew it in December, and he played in September, opening day, week 1.
Yeah,
he was a beast.
He is a genetic abnormality.
Yes.
And I hate it when people started talking about he's going to set the standard.
That's the new standard.
He's like here. Like nobody can do that. And it's like you can't rush that. You can't rush the tendon healing or the ligament healing. You can't rush it. Hey, I got to go down to that clinic, and interesting thing. So they have some like different machines that you can score on. Mm-hmm. He had the highest score on all these machines.
That doesn't surprise me.
I was just like, and I was like, really? Adrian? He goes, yeah, he was every one of these machines.
Yeah.
And I mean, he had guys in there that were weightlifters, that were like lower down the list. Of course, offensive line, that like big, strong guys. It's like Adrian Peterson was demonstrate more power out of all of them.
So all right. So let's kind of move into. Chris, do you want to go on and talk about baseball stuff, or do we want to talk NFL right now?
I mean, it doesn't matter to me. Well, we can go wherever you want to go, but at some point in time, we've talked on this show, you and I, who are not medical professionals, but we just kind of think through things and listen to other people. We've talked about pitching a lot, and
let's go on and jump into that, and then we'll move to the NFL stuff, about specific players and whatnot. But let's talk about Major League Baseball. Chris, go on and ask exactly what your question is.
I've been bringing this up a lot because it's something that bothers me. I don't think pitchers are learning to pitch anymore. I just think that they are learning to throw really, really hard, and it's something that I know high school kids are getting Tommy John surgery all the time because they think, go ahead and get it over with, and I won't have to deal with it later. I don't understand any of this. Is way outside of my realm of expertise, but none of it sounds right. And I know the scariest pitcher I can remember ever looking at or watching outside of like Pedro and Nolan was Greg Maddux, and he just made a ball dance. He just seemed to be magic.
Yeah, that was a thing that came up many years ago on the Tommy John surgery, and these parents were going to surgeons with their 13, 14, 15-year-old kid, perfectly fine elbow. Kid had no pain, no problem. They're like, hey, we went to Tommy John to tighten up that elbow. And Dr. James Andrews, the man who was the pioneer of sports medicine, said himself, surgically repaired tissue is not as strong as natural tissue. And he says, if I got a parent sitting in my waiting room or in my office and they're talking about it, he said, no, I'm not doing it. It's a misconception is that they think, oh, it's the Tommy John that does it. It's the year off that these kids spend after it. They're working on their strength. They're working on their mechanics. They're correcting any weaknesses in there. And they're going to come back and they're going to throw better. And it's like, they're like, oh, it's the surgery. It's like, no, it was the recovery part of it.
So if you just took a year off of playing baseball and just practiced for a year on little things, micro things, you would be a substantially better pitcher the next year after that.
I believe that would. I mean, you're not getting the wear and tear on your arm from it. You can work on like a lot of shoulder blade strength is a big thing. A lot of that shoulder blade strength. And then like the pro level, you've had a year that you haven't seen this guy. So it's like we haven't had any film to study on him. He can come up with new pitches and new approaches. So it's like it's totally new. It's like when a rookie quarterback comes in the NFL and everyone is like, oh, we can't contain him. And the next year he gets crushed because they're like, well, we figured out what to do with him. Sure. So it's
you get it. Things. Terry jumped in on Facebook. He said, first off, I can't believe you'd put this commie on. And then second, he said, the only pitcher close to that now is Kyle Hendricks. He pitches around 88 miles per hour, but uses location to get strikes. It's completely different nowadays as opposed to what it was when we were younger, like you were talking about, Chris.
I mean, there are college scouts that I've heard on like Dan Patrick's show, Come On, or not college scouts, MLB scouts that have said, if I was scouting Greg Maddux as a college player, he would not have gotten drafted. Not one of the 30 organizations would have taken him and given him a chance because he doesn't throw hard enough.
I mean, guys, when you put that radar gun up,
that's it. They got one tool they use. They have one tool they use, and that's the only tool they care about.
Yeah.
God's so terrible.
And but it's going to put more people in the seats when you got a guy like, hey, this guy's going 100. He could throw 103 miles an hour. It's not like, this guy has a really, a wicked changeup or a knuckleball. Okay, knuckleball's kind of cool, though. Knuckleballs are kind of cool. Worst thing in the world to try to hit, but they're pretty cool to see. But it's like, when you're trying to paint that, I like to play that small. I don't like that. People don't like that.
Too bad he only pitched, 10 games a season because he spends half the time rehabbing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing about it is that, how early is too early to start kids on learning how to move the ball as opposed to just throwing hard, Yeah.
They do have programs, and certain good Little League programs won't allow certain pitches before a certain age.
Yeah.
So I can't be quoted when and where, but like curves can't be thrown around 13 to 14 years old. They'll count the number of curveballs that can be thrown, sliders, but usually like the fastball and the changeup are perfectly fine. You're not putting that spin on your elbow. But then the other issue with the young kids is that you don't have pitching coaches. You just get somebody's, dad or their brother or somebody. Well, they played baseball in high school, and they're teaching them how to throw, and they're not looking at, this kid is just whipping with his elbow. And then, unfortunately, these coaches, they just want to win. It's like, who cares if your kid went, had a 10-0 pitching season for the, like the Olive Branch, 10-year-old there? Like, who cares? It's like, it's rather, this kid has longevity and can go to high school and then go to college and then make it through the minor leagues. Like, don't throw out their arms.
All right, so that makes me, by the way, I apologize for the dogs going absolutely bonkers because the Amazon guy decided to show up right when Huey was talking. But this does want to get me into, you bring up the elbow, you bring up the twist. I want to get into some of these NFL guys. So since you brought up the elbow, let's talk about Ben Roethlisberger. There was no real information about, Roethlisberger and what actually was going on with his elbow. You're looking at it from a different situation, like a different, perspective than just a regular fan. We see that he's out there throwing the football, and then all of a sudden he can't go back on the field. It looked like he was throwing fine. He was just, rubbing his elbow when he got done, and then he couldn't come back out in week 2. Is that something that is easy to come back from, or what could we expect from Roethlisberger?
You got to refresh me on that. Did he hit it?
No, he didn't hit it. It was
Nope.
just a. And see, that's the thing. They haven't given out any kind of information regarding what exactly, if he tore anything or what was actually bothering him. They said back in December that there was a chance that he might not be able to play football again. And then all of a sudden you get to March and, he feels younger. He's throwing the football better than he's ever thrown it. They just said that it was surgically repaired, but they didn't say it was Tommy John or anything like that. How could you throw a football how could you injure your elbow throwing a football? Talk me through that. Is there a way to do that?
So, football is it's the thing. It's funny. People think that pitchers could be quarterbacks. Typically, you look at high school. The high school pitcher is the quarterback. But
Pat Mahomes.
Yeah, the mechanics on them are completely different. So baseball, you use a little bit more your elbow. Football mechanics are a little bit different. So they actually don't deal with a whole lot of elbow issues.
Yeah, it's all on the shoulder.
Yeah, a lot of the shoulder, and they're getting there, and you're not, where you throwing like 30 passes a game. Really?
I mean,
so,
some get on up there, but yeah, 30.
30 to 50 passes a game.
How many of the passes are little dump screen passes that you didn't really?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, you're really
at least 7 of those 30 passes are, if you're one of these crazy offenses that throws it 50 times, 12 of them are dump passes that the ball went less than 7 yards.
True,
and not hard.
Yeah.
If anything, what it may sound like, he may have like torn some of the bone off, like some of those things that get like that. you can get where the ligament will pull part of the bone off, and then that's pretty painful. And they have to like drill that and screw that back in. That's not super common. It happens a lot in the shoulder with no, Brett Favre didn't have that. He tore his bicep tendon. A lot of times those guys, like, they'll rip things off in their shoulder, and you have to, they pulled the bone off, and they've got a chunk of the bone, they got to reattach that back up. So anything really surgically repaired in there, it doesn't sound like Tommy John, because he'd have that big nasty scar everyone would see.
Yeah.
So if anything, he may have just pulled the bone off, and they just put it back on.
That is absolutely crazy. All right, there's two other NFL guys, one that is coming into the league. We'll worry about him in a minute. One has been there for quite some time. He was the MVP in 2015, Cam Newton. Everybody wants to know where he's going to go. Everybody wants to know if he's healthy. They say when Carolina cut him that he passed a physical. I don't know what that necessarily means, because it's, team doctors, and they wanted him to pass the physical, right? So you can't cut a guy that's injured, and Cam obviously wanted to pass it because he wants to show everybody that he's healthy. He had a shoulder injury the year before, and then he had a Liz Frank injury this year. Those two injuries, when he came back from the shoulder injury, he looked like hot garbage in the two games that he played for Carolina this past year. And the Liz Frank thing, that's just kind of a lingering issue. Which one is more difficult to come back from? Can he come back at all with his body type? I mean, he's, 6'5", 240 pounds.
Big guy.
Yeah, he looks like a beast, right? And his workout videos look like he is gigantic and ripped and looks like he's in shape and ready to go, but that doesn't necessarily show you anything about his shoulder or his foot. Those two kind of injuries, can a quarterback come back from that, at age 31? What should we expect from somebody like Cam Newton coming into this season?
It's kind of funny to think a guy's old at 31.
I know, right? That's especially when Tom Brady's playing forever, right?
Foot injuries get pretty hard, especially guys that are on their feet like that. Basketball players, anytime that they have a knee or a foot injury, they just don't look good for a year.
When you're big and long, it's tough. Yeah, it's your foundation.
And you're beating it. And you got to think, not only is he beating it up in the game, he's got practice during the week. He has to walk on it. So this thing is constantly getting beat up on. And there could even be an aspect to it where it's like the tissue has healed. Like his tissue is healed. The fracture has healed. Everything looks good. But his brain can be interpreting a pain signal. And the brain is saying, this hurts, this hurts, this hurts. And so then that affects you, and you can't plan as hard. You can't push off as hard. And then psychologically too, you think somebody's coming at me, oh my gosh, I can hurt my foot, and then we'll go down.
Is that kind of like when Kawhi Leonard was with the Spurs and he, like, they cleared him medically, but he was refusing to play because he didn't feel right? Is that the kind of thing that we're talking?
Yeah.
Okay, so like you sense it differently.
Those guys, like in the Olympics with that stupid cupping thing that all the swimmers had on there.
Yeah.
Like, I hate that, and I hope you get like a lot of hate mail coming in because I absolutely hate cupping. I think it's stupid. But these guys are at such a high level that sometimes you just got to give them little things that they're between their ears are going to say, this is going to make me better. So if he didn't feel like I can be 100% on the court, we're going back out there. Yeah. And so it's like, well, everything's good there, but he doesn't psychologically feel it. No, and it's best that. So if he doesn't feel like I can go out there and play my best, you're in my mind, you're in my head, or this injury's in my head, they're going to be off.
Okay, so that might explain a little bit of Cam Newton. Let's move forward to the NFL draft a bit. Tua Tagovailoa, Alabama quarterback, was widely expected to be the number one pick this year. Joe Burrow came in and blew everybody's socks off. Tua goes down against Mississippi State. He's got the hip injury. Hold on. Joseph Gomez jumps in and said, look at who's taking over SBR. They're not ready for all this heat. So Yeah, Chris and I both have been on Sportsbook Review this week. We will continue to be on their roundtable. We appreciate anybody that wants to check that out. But back to Tua, he had the, what is it, a hip displacement and then a wall something fracture, and now he's already back moving. Like, maybe you know more about this this hip injury than I do. He's already back. He's showing videos and all this. I don't feel like it's as easy as, hey, I'm going to be back, I'm ready to play. He just said today to ESPN that he's not ruling out actually being able to play day one in the NFL if that's what his team needs him to do. Is that even possible at this point?
Hips are very strong. Like, it is, when he injured it, that was like just the perfect angle that he landed and that play hit on just to do that. And they're extremely painful. Like, when he was crying out there, like, that hurts.
It makes sense, right?
Yeah. So, again, the thing of coming back, they said if you shift that thing around in there, it's very painful. But I mean, I didn't read exactly what they did, but he's a pretty mobile quarterback. Just kind of curious on how that's going to affect his mobility, because there's one thing if you're running a ladder drill, at the combine, but when you've got guys coming at you, you've got to start changing directions really quick. What's that going to do? And then if he plays 5 games or so, what's that accumulative buildup? He's getting hit game 1, game 2, game 3, hit. What's that going to do at game 4 or 5 when he hasn't had but just that 6 days of recovery? And it's like, man, I got to get back out there. And then it's just going to beat me up again. So I think he wants to make sure his draft status didn't drop.
Well, for sure. I mean, that's where the money is, right?
Yeah.
The other part of this is he's obviously dealt with injuries before. He has had a high ankle sprain on both ankles. And, you were talking about Dr. James Andrews before, that tightrope surgery, which you and I have discussed through text in the past. It is built or set up so that they don't have these same issues going forward. So if you have a weak ankle to begin with, this tightrope is supposed to make it where you're not really going to get those going forward. Do you know anything more about these tightrope surgeries?
I just read a little bit about it. So, and I talked to some other colleagues about it, and we were just kind of exchanging back and forth. And one guy started laughing because he's like, "Oh, they said the recovery is 6 to 8 weeks." He goes, "That's the normal recovery for a high ankle sprain anyway." Yeah. So one thing that happens is when you put an artificial support in there like that, because I think they went in there and they put like a screw or they ran some wiring between
it's like high micro. It's not microfiber.
Yeah, it's round between it. Is that now if he gets that ankle caught, that force has to go somewhere else. So if his
it could
ankle
break it, I
is
guess.
so now he could either it's going to travel up to the knee, because that's a very weak joint compared to the ankle or the hip. It's going to travel up to the knee, or it's going to stay that force right there in the tip fib on it. So that kind of gets a little hard when I was like, okay, now we made these two things that are supposed to move. Now maybe the thing has some give. Maybe it's actually like it's supposed to flex a little bit.
I think that's why that wiring is in there. Yeah, because it's not just a screw. It's a wire that actually has a little bit of give. But I mean, it's crazy to me. It just looks insane.
To come in, because I mean, like I remember watching guys get high ankle sprains, and it was like, God, they were just done for the season. Like they couldn't. Prescott,
I
think he had one. He just wasn't the same. He wasn't running as hard.
The recovery. The recovery was always 4 to 6 weeks. From a high ankle sprain. So when a guy got one of those, it was okay. If you're into October for college football, well, they're done until the bowl game. It is what it is. Joseph Gomez jumps in on YouTube. He said, do teams draft so many quarterbacks because they're scared they miss on the next Aaron Rodgers, or do they really listen to their scouts regarding guys like Manziel, Mitch the Biscuit, et cetera, et cetera? Not fully what we're talking about, Chris. Like, can you answer that at all very quickly?
Well, I think there's always some scout that's trying to sell somebody something. And if he's the guy that finds the next Aaron Rodgers, then he's got a job for life, and he can set himself up for retirement. And you just keep biting that apple until you get that star. And, it just happens.
I'm with you. All right, Huey, we've already kept you for 30 minutes here. I guess, Chris, do you have anything that you want to close out with, or do you want me to knock one last one out?
No, we're good. I don't have anything else.
All right. Huey, you know a little bit about this. I know that you are staying well in shape. You are running all the time. I see your home workouts and whatnot. You've told me about how you've set up your home gym. We're all quarantined. We're all stuck at home. I can't go to the gym anymore. Tell me, for beginners, what is the easiest way, the best way to exercise and stay healthy while we are at home? Tough question, I know.
Yeah, it's kind of a lot to it. So it's interesting, and it always kind of drives me nuts when somebody goes to the doctor and like, oh, you're overweight and you need to start exercising. It's like, oh, swimming is really good because it's low impact, but it's like, well, I don't have anywhere to go swim. Yeah. Or it's like, we'll go run. It's like, well, I weigh 350 pounds. It's going to hurt my knees. I don't even know how to run. So typically I tell people, like, it's whatever that you enjoy to do that, and that you can find that you can fit your schedule. So if you're like, I think I'm going to start swimming, but, the nearest pool's 20 miles away, and then I got to get off work, and I got to get there and do it. More reasons to not do it.
Right.
But things like, I tell people, you want to have a cardiovascular aspect of what you do. So at least you're spending 20 to 30 minutes a day getting your heart rate about 60% of its heart rate of your max. And there's formulas online. You can figure that out. So it's usually 220 minus your age, and then take that times 0.6. And that gives you about the 60%. You can do the long duration. So like, hey, I'm going to go for a pretty quick little jog where it's, I tell people also, if you run or if you can just walk fast, you want to get where you're almost having trouble breathing. So easy way to tell if you have somebody with you, or like recite a poem or a speech or the Pledge of Allegiance or something, then you shouldn't be where you're like, so that gets the cardiovascular. And then, just trying to get out now to start. Body weight is a good thing to do. Body weight is actually pretty hard to teach. A lot of people, even these big, strong, power lifters and strong men, and even athletes, you got poor body control. I used to talk to a friend of mine about, he wanted to train offensive linemen about being functionally strong. He's like, if you weigh 300 pounds, you should be able to carry 300 pounds, 100 yards, that you are functionally strong. So, and that exposes any kind of tightness that's in you. So if you're trying to do a squat and your ankles are super tight, you may be coming up on your toes more, you can't get low enough. But if you work, we're like, okay, I'm going to get down and learn how to do a squat, which I work with like a lot of my older patients. Just, you have to be able to get up and down off of stuff. Like, that's good. Stepping up and down stairs, that's good. Lunging is great. For upper body, pull-ups, push-ups, it's great to do. And if you get into that routine, that's the big thing. So you can come up with some of these main big movers to do. So that's what I like: push-ups, pull-ups, squats that use multiple muscle groups are great to do. If you're a bodybuilder, you want those isolations. But once you kind of get a good grasp on that, there's other things you can pick up, like all the barbells and stuff I have, found them online. Sandbags are another great things to do. You can get chains, rocks, kettlebells. Like, I just grabbed my kettlebell and I just went for a walk down the street, and everyone's looking at me kind of weird because I'm walking with this big heavy kettlebell and throw it in the other hand and just walk back. And I got a sandbag, and I'm carrying this big, like 75-pound sandbag, just like walking down the road with the dog, and people are just looking at me. I'm like, oh, what's up?
That's my buddy Brad Blackwood that runs Euphonic Mastering. He was on the practice squad for the '92 national championship team at Alabama. He goes rucking. So he puts like 40, 50 pounds in a backpack and then walks like 10 miles and then comes back. And he said it's the best that he has lost so much weight. He looks fantastic, but that's all he does. Rucking is his thing.
Yeah, that is to put that much weight on you and to carry. People don't realize, like, you put that weight on. One, if you ruck, you got to distribute it properly.
Yeah.
Or it hurts. But you put that on you, and you walk a quarter mile, and you're like, oh, this is pretty hard.
This is the Deontay Wilder thing that he was claiming, right? That suit that weighed 45 pounds, and he was walking to the ring. You said his legs were gone?
Yeah. It's stuff like that. Weighted vest and all that.
Oh, man. All right. I love it. Dude, thank you so much for coming on with us. We're going to go ahead and hop out of here. We'll have you back in once we get the season rolling back up, and maybe before that, because we're going to be looking for content, and you have answered a ton of questions today, so we're running right up on our time limit, and I don't want us to just get cut off. But yeah, thank you so much. You guys can find him. He is an orthopedic physical therapist. He's on Instagram at Matt_PT_DIP_MDT. Thank you so much, buddy.
Yeah, man, my pleasure.
Absolutely. Chris, anything that we need to hit before we hop out of here?
No, I'm good. He made me feel terrible about myself and how fat I am. What I'm doing while quarantined right now currently is I have a couple of slabs of ribs and pork shoulder smoking. So,
oh, man.
This is mine.
I miss some barbecue right now.
So if you walk a lot, you can walk your ass all the way over here, and you can have
there you go.
Yeah. Get some good barbecue.
It's a walk all the way to the grill. That's what I'm talking about. All right, we are going to get out of here. You guys know where to find us, winningcureseverything.com. Go give our buddies down in Tunica a visit, tunicatravel.com. We have no idea when they're going to open again, but they will be open eventually. Tunica Travel, check them out. Winningcureseverything.com. Find us on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, all of your favorite podcast apps. Make sure you subscribe, leave a nice review, leave some comments. We appreciate everybody that jumped in the live chat today, and we appreciate Matt Huey for jumping in with us. Until tomorrow, y'all have a good evening. Thanks for checking out Winning Cures Everything. If you want to keep up with us, hit subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Visit the website at winningcureseverything.com, or you can like us on Facebook or follow us at Winning Cures, at Gary WCE, or at Chris B. Giannini on Twitter. Share out the show, leave a nice review, and make sure to comment and tweet at us.